Jeff Stauffer, Community Relations Director here at the firm, and welcome to our webinar today, part of our wellness series. And our topic for discussion today is sleep. Need I say more? An important topic for everyone. And our special guest presenter today is Dr. Michelle Fritsch, who's led all of our wellness series presentations over the year. She's a dear friend to our firm and so many others through her work with retirement wellness. And it's a pleasure to welcome her back today. How you doing, Michelle?
Doing well. Thank you for this opportunity to talk about this really important topic.
Pleasure. It's a great thought, great idea we have here. Please let us know if you have any questions through our chat feature today, and we'll be sure to get those over to Michelle. And you also received the presentation slides by email yesterday morning. If you didn't for some reason, maybe you RSVP'd after yesterday morning, they're also available in the section marked handouts on your screen to download at this time. And everyone will also receive a post-webinar feedback email right after the presentation. Please take just a couple minutes to fill out this brief but very important survey. And we always read and appreciate every comment that you have to share with us. And here at Elvin Associates, we work every day with individuals and families with ideals of client education, collaboration, and compassion in mind. We're always available for consultations to discuss your family's planning needs, no matter how big or small they may seem, helping you establish goals and your purpose for planning, and look forward to being a resource to you anyway. So I want to introduce Michelle, who is just such a great friend. She's been part of our client care program presentations. She helped out with our virtual client event that we had in 2021, I guess it was, and we've done probably about 40 of these wellness series over the years. So really just appreciate all that Michelle does. So Dr. Michelle Fritsch is a board-certified geriatric clinical pharmacist with a passion for healthy aging and education. She is a specialist in medication use, prevention, and retirement transition for people over 60. She is the founder of Retirement Wellness Strategies, a one-on-one concierge retirement wellness portfolio planning program, and co-founder of Propel Comprehensive Wellness. She works with a broad definition of health: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and social, aligned with purpose in each phase of life. Her career has included academia, advanced interprofessional geriatric teams, creating a nonprofit within a health system that served the underserved, medical missions, student services for the underserved of Baltimore, and much, much more. So Michelle, welcome. I'll turn it over to you. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Jeff. And thank you to everyone that is here. The numbers indicate that this is a hot topic for a lot of us. And in particular, with so much change going on around us, I understand that can impact sleep. So my goal is that by the end of this time together, not only do you have a better understanding of why sleep is so important, but you have very tangible strategies that you can start to implement right away. Format-wise, I'm going to ask you some questions as we go, and hope that you're able to answer in the chat. And I'm going to strive to leave us some time at the end for some great questions and answers. So if you have questions as we go, please write those down so that you don't forget, or put them in the chat, and we will address those at the end. So let's go with some myths and some strategies, because there's a lot of information out there, some of it not so great. So let's differentiate that. I have a question for you. Rate your sleep overall. Do you just sleep great? Most nights not an issue. We all have the occasional bad night, but overall it's great. Number 2, usually pretty good. 3 is okay. 4, yeah, not so great. And 5 is I just can't sleep. I would love to know kind of where we are as a group today. So again, put your answer in the chat. And then I have one more question. Yes, Jeff, go ahead.
We've got a 4, another 4.
Well, then I wish.
Another 3. So it looks like this discussion has brought some people that have had some challenges. I have a 2, so that's pretty good. A 5, oh my, okay. Sorry to hear that. Okay. You're in the right place.
You are in the right place. And I hope, again, at the end, you've got some things you can try over the next few nights. Boy, I wish we had a way maybe the next time we have one of these sessions, people can report in on whether the strategies made a difference for them. What about snoring? I wonder how much of this we have. Do you personally snore? Yes, no, or you're not really sure? And I will tell you that that is something toward the end we're going to talk about in addition to the other sleep factors. So hopefully bring some hope to that as well. What are we seeing, Jeff? Do we have snorers? All right, I will keep moving and we'll dive into some myths. Myth number one, it's fine to have light on or even TV on. I had a woman that I traveled with earlier in my career and she would keep the TV on all night. What do you think? Is that fine? Do you keep a night light on? Do you keep a TV? Do you keep some other light source on? I would tell you that dark is best, as dark as you can get it, like blackout curtain dark and quiet. With the exception, we're going to talk about some noise that tends to be helpful toward the end. But dark is best. So if you tend to have lights on, that's a simple thing that you could implement right away, is getting your room as dark as possible. Myth number two, naps count. So if I nap for a couple hours and I sleep for 3 and then I get up for a while and I sleep for 3 more, then I'm getting 8 hours of sleep. And a lot of people think of their sleep that way. I want to talk about that in a little bit more detail. And I will just admit, I'm going to cheat a little bit to make sure I get these details correct. It's best to sleep 7 to 9 hours at one time. You can get up and go to the bathroom during the night and such, but overall you want that sleep experience to be in one big section. And we're going to talk about why. The other bit thing is if you can be as regularly scheduled as possible, that I go to bed, say in this hour, and I get up in this hour, you're much more likely to achieve the good sleep than if one night you go to bed early and the next night you go to bed late and the next night you go to bed really late, but the night after that you're back to early. It's more difficult to get the good sleep when it's that variable. So this is the sleep cycle. There's that very first part where you're kind of twilight, in and out, maybe a little bit more aware of the things going on around you. And that tends to only last, for most people, about 5 or 10 minutes. I know some of you are going to say, oh, I have the hardest time falling asleep. And we are going to address that. Excuse me. And then there's a big section that's the light sleep. And this is good. And it can last 20 to 30 minutes usually. And then you've got to go through all of this to get to this deep sleep phase. That's where sleep is the number one treatment or therapy, if you will, for our entire body. It's in this deep sleep that the body heals itself, that the brain refreshes itself, that many systems in our body reset. So that deep sleep, that is the really important part for your overall short and long-term health. If you have a night, excuse me, if you have a night where you really don't reach the deep sleep, you're not going to feel as rested the next morning as you will if you have a night where you get plenty of the deep sleep. And then there's the REM. Rapid eye movement is REM. This is the part where you're actually paralyzed, not in a bad way, just your body completely shuts down physically. And that's where if you ever watch someone sleep who's in this part of their sleep, their eyes are moving rapidly. And that is the dreaming phase. A lot of times we don't remember that, but if we get to good deep sleep, we will reach that part as well. And again, to feel restored, you will have had these cycles several times during the night. So if you're in bed for 7 to 9 hours, you'll go through this whole cycle every couple of hours. And that's a good thing. That is the typical. So you might have a point in the night where you kind of partially wake up. Maybe that's when you go to the bathroom or you turn over and you fluff your pillow again, and then you go right back through the cycle. And then that might happen again, and you go right back through the cycle. That again is the most restorative sleep. So then where does napping come in? Move something. So some people talk about their power naps, and there's good evidence that that can be very restorative. That can kind of reset your brain, refresh you for the rest of the day. So people that might take power naps at lunch. The key is if your nap is 20 to 30 minutes, you'll stay in this range. And if you stay there, then waking up won't be difficult because you weren't soundly asleep. But if your nap is more than about 30 minutes, you tend to get into this deeper sleep. And that tends, you know, in a normal night of sleep, that's going to last a while. That's where I'm going to cheat. Usually 20 to 40 minutes after you've already been through this 30 minutes of the light phase. So when people nap during the day, and they go more than 20 to 30 minutes, they get into this, but they tend to not then go for the full 3 hours to get the full benefit. So it's in some way you've set an alarm or someone wakes you up from your nap while you're here in this early part of this third phase. You can be very groggy, very irritable, not feel refreshed. If anything, feel worse and tireder than you were when you went laid down. So I'd love to hear in the chat, can you relate to this? How many of you have these power naps, the really short ones, 20 minutes or so, where you stay in the light sleep and you can wake up easily at the end of your nap? And how many of you tend to, if you're going to fall asleep, you're probably going to be there for an hour or so, which means you're going to be into this deep sleep cycle when you wake up, making it very difficult to kind of get refocused and feel good. So that's why the napping is can be good. Let's see. There we go.
Yeah, I would have a couple of
yes.
attendees say, depending on the day, they've experienced both. If I nap, I can wake up, but I still feel groggy. I'll also agree that you know, half-hour naps for me are good. Sometimes if I go longer, honestly, I have some trouble sleeping at night. So it might carry over. I don't know if that's something you've seen before or heard. Try to avoid the longer ones, even if I want to take one.
Right, and that's exactly the point, is that if we have the longer ones, it's harder to wake up, but it's more disruptive to our nighttime sleep. So power naps are okay, but you got to wake up in that 20 to 30 minute range. Longer naps tend to make it harder to get the full, go through all the cycles at night, and harder to wake up feeling refreshed, which, you know, if you're going to take a nap, you want to feel good at the end of it. And those deeper sleep naps tend to leave you feeling maybe even worse. No, great point, Jeff. Thank you. Myth number 3, medicated sleep is just as good as natural sleep. It's on the myth cycle because medications, first of all, this actually conversation came up this morning. These are the over-the-counter sleep aids, and most of them contain this diphenhydramine that is the main ingredient of Benadryl. Diphenhydramine is the #1 cause of not just falls at night, but destructive falls, hip breaking, have to go to the nursing home falls. So if you're over about 50, I recommend you never use a sleep aid that contains diphenhydramine. Usually when we wake up at night, it's because we have to go to the bathroom. Usually that is the case. And your body's not going to give you a whole lot of time to sit on the edge of the bed and kind of wake up a bit and then stand up and then be secure in your balance before making your way to the bathroom. Depending on the situation in your house, you might have a distance to travel, or you might have a difficult to maneuver bathroom where, getting to the toilet, you've got to kind of turn sideways and squeeze through an area. All of those things are more difficult when you are you have medicated grogginess. And again, Benadryl in particular, or diphenhydramine in particular, is the #1 thing linked to these terrible falls. So I don't want that for anyone. But even if you have medicated sleep with benzodiazepines or antidepressant medications, or we call them the Z drugs, the Ambien, Zolpidem kind of medications, even with those, they impact this part of the most restorative sleep. So with the sleep medications, you tend to have more time over here in the light sleep. So you are in bed, you count up your hours with those medications, you get the hours of sleep, but you typically aren't as refreshed the next morning because they don't allow you to go into this really restorative deep sleep. So when I work with people who have difficulty with sleeping, we might use those medications, short term, if you've lost a loved one or a job or something really difficult has happened in your life, medication to help sleep for a night or two can be helpful. But longer term, I really discourage it and focus more on all of these other things that we can do to help ourselves sleep, so that we get the full cycle of the really deep restorative sleep each night. So if you've got questions about that, I'd love to come back to it and we can talk about it more at the end. Myth 4, if I'm not falling asleep, I should just lay there until I do. That tends to become irritating, or maybe that's just me. But at some point you're like, oh, another 20 minutes has passed. Oh, another 30 minutes has passed. I'm still awake. Another hour has passed. I'm still awake. That tends to make it even harder to fall asleep. So if you give it 20 minutes or so, or you're starting to get irritated with the clock, first of all, try not to look at the clock so much because that kind of wakes you back up. But if it's been a while and you're not falling asleep, actually get up, do something soothing. And we're going to talk about a lot of different strategies you could use at that point to try to get yourself sleepy again. And most importantly, to turn off your brain. Because if you're not falling asleep because you've got lists in your head, we're going to address that very directly. So don't lay there for forever. Get up, do some of the things we're about to talk about. The other piece of that is when you're in pain, it's very hard to sleep. When you're very anxious, the pain feels worse and it's very hard to sleep. But on the other side, if you don't get a good night's sleep, your anxiety is likely to be worse the next day and your pain is going to feel worse the next day. This is a horrible, vicious triangle that so many people find themselves in. And so relieving that, just knowing this, I think is powerful. And then figuring out where in this triangle could you break this cycle? What could work best for you? Like, have you worked with your healthcare team on the pain? And we could spend a lot of time talking, maybe Jeff, this is a future topic, is how can you manage pain with and without medication? Like, there's so many different things that you can do to relieve your pain. How can we help with the sleep? That's our focus today. Maybe that's where you can break the cycle. How do we manage our anxiety? And we are going to talk today about some things to try to calm down that brain, especially while you're trying to fall asleep and stay asleep. So breaking this cycle is a really big part of allowing you to both go to sleep and stay to sleep and reach those deeper levels of restorative sleep.
Michelle, can I pose a couple of questions to you?
Yes, please.
Um, First, I completely agree about not looking at the clock. Boy, that is a great tool that I picked up recently. I woke up last night and didn't know if it was 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock, and got up, laid back down, and it made all the difference, because if I knew it was close to when I needed to wake up, I probably would not have fallen back to sleep. So it's a great
Good
thought. A couple questions. Diphenhydramine, if that's the quote devil, is there anything that is not? Um, and also, like melatonin, is that an addictive um, supplement that one should consider or not consider? And also, if you talk about sound machines, if those are something you would suggest or not.
Yes. Okay. Fabulous questions. So the diphenhydramine is the devil of medications, just because I've seen so many tragic falls. And sometimes when we break our hip, we're just never going to get back to walking the way that we did before. So I don't want that for anyone. With the other medications, again, short term, they can be used effectively, but I'm a big proponent of sleeping without medication. And sometimes that means being very deliberate about other things you do to give yourself a chance to sleep through the night without medication. It's easier to grab a pill or a gummy or a whatever, but your actual good sleep is going to come from not having any medications impacting it. So, and then melatonin, if you're deficient of melatonin, then melatonin can help. Some people think of melatonin as like another sleep aid where you're going to take it and within an hour you're going to be sleepy. It's not the way that one works. Again, if you're deficient in melatonin, which is one of those relaxing effects from your brain, then replacing it over the course of about a month will allow you to relax more effectively. But not everyone is deficient in melatonin, so it's not going to make any impact in some people. And for those that it does help, you've got to give it some time, about a month, before you're going to know if you are one of the people who is helped by supplementing it. So I think that's another myth. People think that melatonin is a take it and feel the effects that night. Not the way it works. So again, medication free is my biggest recommendation, and we're going to talk about ways to do that. And then the sound machines, yes, I think that can be helpful. It gives your brain something to do and to listen to and to process that's not all those crazy thoughts that are going through your head. And so there are one of the things that I was going to talk about later, but we'll talk about it now. Go to YouTube or just search on your computer for different colors. There are colors of noises. Look for white noise, pink noise, brown noise, purple noise, and see what is soothing for you. So it's going to be some version of shh kind of noise. And some of them are a little louder or deeper or higher pitched than others. So find the one that really calms you down and consider having that on at night. Just again, you're distracting your brain from all of those other crazy thoughts that are keeping you awake. So, and if anyone has experience with sound machines, you can also do like crickets chirping or birds, like you were outside camping. I grew up camping, and so that's very soothing to me to hear those nighttime sounds, or hear the ocean, hear just a rippling little stream. If those kinds of sounds relax you, same thing. They're going to distract your brain and allow you to relax into your sleep. So I am in favor of those. I'd keep them down low. But that's the exception to having noise in the room. Good questions. So myth number 5, I only need a few hours. I've never needed a lot of sleep. I do fine on short amounts of sleep. I've worked with people who, they have very, very demanding jobs. And so they'll go to sleep, and if they wake up 3 to 4 hours later, they're like, oh, I'm done. I've had all the sleep I need, and they go and start their day. sometimes they feel like they are the most productive, efficient person at work because they're working all of those extra hours. But it's been my experience with many, many people over the years that if we can get them a good sleep, restorative sleep, they're so much more efficient as they're at work that they don't need all of those extra hours. Their brain is so much more focused because they got good sleep. They're able to problem solve through their day more effectively because they got the good sleep, that they actually do better. And then we're going to talk in just a couple of minutes about all of the other negative effects of not getting enough sleep. Because again, we're just made as humans that the sleep is when our body heals itself and prepares itself for the next day and gets rid of a lot of things that were accumulated the day before that are not good for us. So I'm going to walk through some data, and if you've listened to me for a while, you've probably seen this before. But what can happen over time when we've got stress or fear, we're letting those messages in our brain keep us alert and not allowing us to sleep well, it impacts our health. Whoops. And so over time, you're going to find you've got a shorter fuse. You just can't tolerate people and things so well. You get angry much more quickly. You stress, eat, and drink. Has anyone done that? That the more stressed you are, you end up eating the junk food, the highly processed foods, drink more alcohol, do other things to distract you. You doom scroll on your phone. You're just on there kind of nonstop and don't even realize it. When you're stressed, you're more likely to do that. It can greatly impact your sleep, which is what we're talking about today. And then your overall coping. Things bother you more than they used to. You're just not dealing with things so well. You get anxious way more easily than you did before. While those are the things we notice, there are things going on inside of us that we don't notice, but that over time can really negatively impact our health. So when we're not sleeping well, when we are accumulating stress, we're not resting, the inflammation in our body goes up. That is felt everywhere in your body. You might have thinner hair, you might have drier eyes, you might find that your blood pressure is going up, which we don't usually feel that, but it's very bad for our heart. So increased blood pressure, your blood sugar goes up, partly because of the inflammation and the stress, partly because of that stress, eating and drinking. Our rates of depression and anxiety are higher and harder to control. And then the things I think that we don't always think about is over time that actually weakens our immune system. So short term, you're more likely to get a cold or COVID or the flu or RSV or one of those terrible respiratory or GI things going around. But it also increases our risk of things like dementia and cancer, which none of us want. But now, and I will say in the last 5 years, I think the understanding of this relationship has become so much better known. It all comes clear back here. If we're not handling stress and fear and all of the emotions well, and if we're not sleeping well, short term, we might feel like we're handling it, but our body is keeping track over time. And our risks of those terrible outcomes are so much higher. So if there's nothing else you remember from today, sleep is such a critical factor in your short-term ability to think and process and tolerate people and manage fear and stress. But long-term, it protects you from some of those outcomes that none of us want to face. So let's talk about strategies. Unless, Jeff, is there anything anyone said that we should talk about before we get into strategies?
I think we're good to move on for now.
Excellent. So number one, I kind of mentioned this. How you sleep, you want the most perfect scenario possible in your sleeping. So you want to have your bedroom dark and cool. 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit is what studies have shown allows people to sleep the best. And you're going to end up like this guy, all bundled up under the covers, but that allows you to really calm down and sleep. I got to tell you, that's a little cold for me, but the cooler, the better. So if you tend to have a very warm room to sleep, think about how you could cool it. Doesn't have to be all house air conditioning. There are units you could put like just in your bedroom. Add aromatherapy. I know I have a dog and my dog always stinks. So aromatherapy just gives a different scent, which is more pleasing for sleeping. And lavender is one of those scents that has been shown to be very calming. And so you could have a lavender plant in your bedroom. You could squirt a little lavender on your pillow so that you're smelling it. You could have one of those diffusers that's putting lavender scent, whatever works best for you. There's even lavender soap. So if you get calmed down by a warm bath or shower before bed, you use lavender soap. That could be helpful. Another one is a good mattress and pillow. If you've not changed your mattress in a long time, if your neck hurts in the morning or your hips hurt, maybe a different mattress or a different pillow could help reduce that pain. Because remember the pain, sleep, anxiety cycle. If we can do things that make it more comfortable and less painful, that can help you sleep better. The other one, although alcohol or marijuana can make you feel relaxed and you think you're going to sleep better, it's like the sleep aid medications. You might get the hours of sleep, but you tend to not get as much dreaming and not as much of the deep sleep. And so trying to avoid those things to make you sleepy. So the medications, the alcohol, try to stop caffeine after about 2 o'clock in the afternoon if you sleep at night. Now, if you work at night and you're awake during the day, we're going to need to flip all this by 12 hours or so. And then avoid those longer naps that we talked about, because that gets you into the deeper sleep, makes it hard to wake up refreshed, and steals some of your ability to sleep good at night. So our goal is sleep quality, not just the hours, but the quality. The cycling through the really deep sleep is the #1 objective. Another strategy is motion sensor lighting. And my goodness, this has become so attainable and inexpensive. So you want your room to be very, very dark. But if you have to get up during the night, which most of us after 40 or 50 do, you want to not stumble around and fall. And so you can use this strip lighting or other lights that are motion sensing. They're not bright. They're not as likely to wake you up and tell your brain that it's daytime again. And so you can put them under your bed. You can put them along the hallway to your bathroom. You can put them like under the counters in your bathroom so that they're dark until you go by and you trip them with your motion. And then you've got just enough light to see and not fall, but again, not bright enough to wake you up. If anyone uses this and they found that to be a good strategy, I'd love to put that in the chat. Tell us about it. And do you use the strips? Do you use the bulbs? Like, what did you find to be most effective? #4, this one is absolutely critical for me, and I hope it will be helpful to some of you. Those thoughts are going through your head. You're like, oh my goodness, I can't forget this. I've got to remember to call this person in the morning, or I've got to remember to finish that report, or I've got to remember whatever. Have a notebook and pen available. And with those motion sensor lights, just very, very dim lighting when your eyes are used to the dark will be enough for you to write some notes. And so keep that notebook and pen either near the toilet, so while you're up during the night you can write down those thoughts, or keep it beside your bed, so then your brain doesn't have to keep track of it anymore. You know that you're going to have it available to you in the morning. Let it go and allow you to go back to sleep. Even if you've got a mixed up bunch of thoughts in your head, I am blessed to have a daughter who is in grad school to be a therapist, but she's also a creative writer. And she's actually done a little research now that it is therapeutic just to let sort of a free flow of your thoughts and write it down. So it could be zebra, giraffe, tree, monkey, whatever weird thoughts are in your head. Just write them. Don't worry about the spelling, the grammar, the punctuation, none of that. Just scribble it out. All those crazy thoughts. And that can actually let your brain put those aside and increase the likelihood you can get back to sleep. But again, with very low light. If you pull up your phone and you start writing it in your phone, that is bright light. Even if you set it dim, that tends to stimulate your brain. So you don't want to do your phone or your computer or something like that. Low light writing it tends to be the most effective to allow you to release it, but not fully wake up. In strategy 5, your body's got to know the difference between night and day. So if you've spent the day on the couch or in the bed or sitting at your desk and you've not really moved very much, you've not gotten some sunshine, you've not kind of given your brain a break to be fully moving and doing daytime activities, then it's hard for it to recognize that now it's nighttime and it's time to sleep. Now, this is hard when you're sick. If you've been sick, you probably find that day and night gets all mixed up because you're not really leaving the bed or the couch and your body's not able to differentiate. But if you're not sick, this is one of the best things you can do. And going outside, natural sunlight is one of the best things to inform your brain that this is daytime. And then the darker you can get it is the better at night to make sure your brain knows now this is nighttime. Another piece of this is give your brain a chance to kind of ease into the nighttime. So watching the news with all the scariness that's on the news until 11 o'clock and calling 11:01 your bedtime doesn't tend to work well for people because your brain is processing all that stuff it saw. So ideally, shut down all of it. Emails, your phone, games on your phone, the TV, certainly the news, an hour or two before bed and find a different activity. Read a book, play cards, just relax, listen to a podcast, something that is not quite as, but not a scary podcast, something that's not quite as stimulating. I smile because my grandmother was telling me one time that she was having difficulty sleeping, but she was listening to the scariest radio show while she was trying to fall asleep. I wouldn't be able to sleep after that either. So we had to kind of change what she was listening to at that point in her day. So day and night, got to let your body know the difference. There's even your vagus nerve. It is part of what kind of helps your body regulate your emotions and your breathing and your blood pressure and all of those things. There's some data that just being out in nature, being around trees, or even going barefoot and putting your feet in the grass, those sorts of things can regulate all of those aspects of your body.
Shall we do it?
Yes.
Do you suggest blue light glasses if you have to be on the computer?
There is that kind of isn't, I'm not seeing as much data about it as we did for a while, but yes, that helps with the eye strain tremendously. So that is a helpful thing. I have some bonus tips. And we could do an entire session on calming techniques. But when you find yourself either trying to fall asleep or trying to get back to sleep or stay asleep, these are some strategies that so many people have found helpful. Kind of back to that vagus nerve and sort of what helps your brain stay in the calmer part of itself. Your breathing can be powerful, and you might feel like, oh my gosh, this is getting woo-woo, and I hear about breathing all the time, but it's real. you really can make a big difference in your overall thinking and calming with your breathing. And when you do this, you want the breathing to be ideally in through your nose and slow, not but a slow breath. And you want it to not just fill your chest, but actually fill your belly. And I find a lot of people have just never learned to breathe that way. And so it can take some practice. So you're breathing in through your nose, or if your nose is stuffy, breathe in through your mouth with your tongue on the roof of your mouth. It's something that singers do all the time. You put the tongue in the roof of your mouth and then breathe in. And you're going to, again, you're pulling breath into both your chest and your belly. So I encourage you, as I'm talking, to try that if you don't already do that on a regular basis. So through your nose or with your tongue in the roof of your mouth, slow breath in, filling all of your torso. Some people find that this, oh, and then when you breathe out, when you breathe out, breathe through your lips like you've got a straw in your mouth. And that just makes it a little bit harder. It takes longer to empty all that air out of your lungs. And you want to breathe out long and slow until you've completely emptied. It feels like you've completely emptied your lungs. And then when you breathe back in, you're going to keep it really slow and really fill everything up. Sometimes at night, people find it's easier to do this. Again, you're trying to stop the thoughts in your brain. And so add a mantra or add a verse, add something that you find calming. So as you're breathing, you kind of put that in sync with this mantra. And I thought this was cute. I talked to a friend who worked with kids in oncology, just really, really difficult kids with cancer. And she said their favorite mantra was, I like pizza. So as breathing in, I like, and as breathing out, pizza, very slowly. But again, yours can be, I am powerful, all is good, I'm not afraid, whatever is going to bring you calm, adding that to your breathing, especially as you're trying to fall asleep or stay asleep and calm down the thoughts in your head. Adding that mantra can help. Another way to use your breath is something called box breathing, and this is what special forces use to stay calm in the wildest of circumstances. So that's breathing in, the way we talked about, through your nose or with your tongue in the roof of your mouth. Breathe in for a count. Most people start with 4. So you breathe in, slowly counting to 4, and then hold your breath for 4, and then breathe out through pursed lips for 4, and then hold it for 4, and then breathe in again. I will tell you, if you've never done this before, I find some people find it makes them a little bit panicky, that they can't grab a breath when they want to. So if you need to do 2 and 2 and 2 to go around the box, do what's comfortable, and over time, you'll find that you can breathe in over 8 and hold for 8 and out for 8 and hold for 8. You can expand it over time. So if your brain is telling you, oh my goodness, we're not getting enough oxygen, start small and then build from there on the box breathing. Another thing that I find that helps people fully relax is using all 5 senses. So we've got a few minutes. Let's go ahead and try it. First, I want you to just scan around your environment and just notice things, especially things that you find stimulate your brain, that you find them really pretty or bring back great memories. And then I want you to close your eyes and smell. What do you smell? And then listen. What do you hear? And often it comes in layers, like there's the obvious sounds first, but if you listen longer, you'll hear some not so obvious sounds. And then taste. What is the taste in your mouth? But pay attention to it. And then feel. And go over your whole body. Like, is there a breeze that you're feeling? What does it feel like to touch your chair? Which parts of your body are touching the chair? What about your feet? What are they touching? What does that feel like? If you've got your hands on something, what does that feel like? And so at night, you can use all of your senses. And again, you're just distracting your brain from all of those thoughts and giving it something to think about. And then the last one is progressive relaxation. I find this one especially helpful if you feel like you've laid there a long time and you're just not falling asleep. You've done the breathing. So with progressive relaxation, you start with your toes, squeeze them really tight, and then very gradually let them relax. And then do that with your whole foot, and then your ankle, and then your calf, and then just work your way all the way up your body. And you do it very slowly. I'm talking about it quickly, but you let each part of your body tense up and then very gradually relax. By the end of this, it almost feels like you've had a massage. So, calming techniques. Go back to these slides and think about which of these you could try. Another one, if you snore, it is worth a sleep study to go and find out if your snoring is obstructive. Because if you are, during the night, if you stop breathing for periods of time, that is not good for your cardiovascular system. Your heart bears the brunt of that over time. And I know a number of people with pacemakers and other things, a heart failure, because they didn't address the snoring. And the problem with the snoring was not just the sound, but the snoring is an indicator that they're not breathing for periods during the night. So I know a lot of people, I hear this all the time from people I work with. They hate their CPAP mask. They just hate it. Well, thankfully, that this is a continuous positive air pressure that make sure that you don't stop breathing. Make sure that that breath is continuous through the night. There are many, many new types, thank goodness, because I know the first ones were hard for people to tolerate. So if you've tried it before and you found it really difficult, I encourage you to try it again and try different ones. A good sleep study center will allow you to try different ones so you can find what really works best for you. Like if you lay on your back to sleep, a certain kind might be best. If you sleep on your side, a different kind might be better. So they'll work with you on that. Another one is to raise, if you sleep very flat and you snore, just to raise up a little bit can make a difference. So there are wedge pillows that bring you up just a few inches, or you can put a board under the head of your bed just to raise your whole bed up by say 2 to 4 inches. Or you can, if you have an adjustable bed, maybe raise the head of it just a little bit and see if that helps with the snoring. And then the other one is to lose weight. And boy, is that not easier to say than to do. But maybe if we can calm some of the anxiety, get you better sleep at night, it makes it easier then to be able to lose some weight. So that allows, there's less pressure on the airway as you sleep, and it can relieve some of the, or maybe all of the snoring. Very similar, if you have ever been told you have heart failure, then you've got extra fluid. By the time you go to bed, you've got fluid in your ankles, you've got fluid in your legs, you've got fluid maybe in your lungs. And so one, that extra fluid can make it difficult to sleep when you're laying flat. So same thing, you can, if you've got an adjustable bed, you can elevate the head of it a little bit. You can put a couple of boards under the head of your bed and raise the whole bed up by 2 to 4 inches. You can use the wedge pillow. And another one is anticipate that you're going to get up more during the night to urinate, because all of that fluid that was in your ankles and your legs and your lungs is now going to make its way to the kidneys while you're sleeping, while you're more flat. And then that will allow you to get rid of it by urinating. So you might be up more during the night. So that was a lot. My business partner, Ellen, and I, we love helping people with these things. And so please feel free to reach out to us if we can be helpful to you. The QR code on this slide takes you to our website, so you can learn more about us. Or last thing, if you want a phone call, if any of this resonated with you, but you'd like to talk about it more, this QR code will take you to my calendar, or give me a call or a text and we'll find time to talk. So, whew, Jeff, that was a lot. What questions have we heard?
Michelle, thanks so much. Let's look at a couple other questions here. Now's a great time to get those questions in for us. Question is, what is the optimal ratio between light, deep, and REM sleep?
So, okay, again, I'm going to cheat a little bit to get this right. So typically the lightest sleep is about 5 minutes, that sort of twilight falling asleep. The light sleep, the next one, is 10 to 25. So that's why the power naps work. If you've got 5 minutes of falling asleep and about 25 of light sleep, then a 20 to 30 minute power nap will keep you rested but not groggy. And then stage 3 is 20 to 40 minutes for most people. And then the REM part usually happens around the time that you're in the deeper sleep. So that in that 20 to 40 or even extended beyond. And so all of that tallied up is only about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So then you do it again. So during the night, it's not one time around that circle, but it's multiple. But usually so that comes out to about a third of it is the lighter sleep and about 2/3 is the deeper, when you're able to reach the point of the deeper sleep.
So we'll wait for any final questions here. I personally would love to do a follow-up to this presentation. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your post-webinar feedback. Let us know what other topics you'd like to hear about on our wellness series, including building on this discussion about sleep with Michelle. Our webinar series moves forward, and we have a very busy few weeks here at Elville & Associates. We have this evening, you just can't get enough of our webinar series. Steve Elville and I are doing a presentation about estate planning and elder law essentials at 7 o'clock tonight, so I hope you'll join us for that. On Friday the 10th, we have one of our more popular presentations on Friday, trustee selection and how to choose the right one for you. It's one of the most important topics and most brought up topics during the estate planning process. Steve's going to walk you through that. We also have next Saturday the 18th, our annual client and community education event over at 10 Oaks Ballroom in Clarksville. We're really excited for it. I've been busy preparing for it and always look forward to that day. Registration is closed. If you want to give me a call or email me and see if we can squeeze you in, we have had a few cancellations and then people contact us and they want to be added on, so it's balanced out okay. Let me know if you'd like to attend. I'll get you some information. And then lastly, for now, we'll be going back to the Howard County Public Library on August 24th, talking about estate planning and special needs planning and how they're different and how they intertwine together. So lots of great information. You can always check out our YouTube channel as well, which is home to hundreds of different presentations that Steve and people like Michelle and I have offered over the years, and hope that's a good resource for you. So if you thank you for a good session, and I think one thing I don't think we really talked too much about, Michelle, maybe one brief thought you might have is about dreaming, dream analysis, and what that can, if anything, can that shed some light on challenges that we're having, or anxiety or stress, and if that's a worthwhile thing to look into.
if it can help you pinpoint maybe some of the what are those thoughts in your head that are bringing you anxiety. I've seen such variability in dream analysis from different analyzers that I wouldn't call it an exact science, but things like if you have dreams that you're naked in public, most of the analyzers would say that that's something about you're afraid of being exposed, you know, so then you can think about, well, what is it I'm afraid people might find out about me? So on a broad sense, it might help you do a little personal reflection about what's causing me anxiety and why, based on what you can remember of your dreams.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap up here. Please go ahead and fill out our webinar feedback you'll receive in just a couple of minutes. Share your thoughts and what else you'd like to hear about on our wellness series, and I look forward to hearing from you. And we appreciate you being here today. Michelle, thanks as always. Hope you all have a great day.